And we are live. All right. So I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Guys, welcome to Federal Prison Talk. My name is Sean. I did 52 months in a federal prison camp for wire fraud. And today I'm talking with Craig G. He just got sentenced to 37 months. He's going to Morgantown, Virginia. I think he's got a little less than 90 days to go. And he agreed to come on the show and talk to me and anybody else who's out there. Let me introduce Craig. Maybe you want to say hello, Craig, and a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get the show going.
Hi, guys. My name is Craig Gibson. I'm here today just to talk and help anybody else, and thank Sean for, being there for me and helping me, giving me a lot of good advice, a lot of good information. Just watching your show and listening to you, it helped me get my sentence lowered. It helped me do a lot of that. I definitely commend you on all the good work you're doing.
Thank you very much, Craig. See, that just brings joy and tears to my eyes that I helped you get your sentence reduced, because I know we've talked, and what I want to talk to people about today is Craig has taken accountability for all his crimes and everything, but he went one step beyond. He's even started to change the way he thinks and acts and things he does in life, and he's already learned his lesson, and I'll have him tell you what the judge said and everything. But Craig, how long have you been on pretrial?
I got indicted December 1st of 2021.
21. So it's been at least a year living hell, right? Not knowing how much time you're going to get.
About 7 months, actually. Right around 7 months, yeah.
That's actually, it was 4 years for me. I think the average time is 1 to 2 years. I had a leadership role, so they wanted to sentence everybody underneath me first and make sure I went last, so I got more time than everybody. That was the theory. So,
well, mine was a simple possession, and I went in right out of the gate and basically accepted responsibility. And then once I made bond, I come and I listened to your show and talked to a couple people, and that's when I stepped up and I went and did a NIOP and an IOP, which is intensive outpatient treatment, and did some drug treatment and stuff like that without being forced into it. I basically did it on my own accord, which in turn got me a 2-point reduction when I got in front of the judge. That took my, on the sentencing guidelines, she gave me a 2-point reduction on her own accord because of that. So that was definitely a good thing to do.
Judges really like that when you take accountability and actually make it do an action to change the way you've been living. That's what they want to hear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had a couple impact letters from like my counselors, and I started a little NA program to where, there's about 10 of us that meet every Sunday, which actually are meeting. Now we've been meeting at the park and, in person since the COVID ban is lifted a little bit. And we meet every Sunday at 5 o'clock for an hour and just sit around and bullshit. I've mentored a couple people, and I got some guys that, they need help. They just needed somebody like you, somebody to talk to. And it's helped a lot, when you can see that you're trying to help somebody on with it. And like I said, the judge was really impressed by everything I had done. And she took all of that into account, which really shocked me. I mean, I didn't ask for it. And I even told her when, I did my own statement, I wasn't there for leniency and I wasn't there for them. I apologized to the court for making them waste their time by having to be there for something I had done. And I accepted responsibility, and every action has a reaction. And I was there for my sentence. And she was just really impressed by everything I said.
That's great to hear, man. Yeah, same kind of thing with me when I got sentenced. I had a couple people speak for me from like a sober living house and stuff, and they were asking the judge to give me probation. And when it came time for my turn to talk, I told the judge, don't give me probation. I said, I'm here to get sentenced. I'm ready to do time. I've been preparing. And I said, I know these people want me to have probation, but I know you can't do that. And I don't want that, Your Honor. And then I went on just like you. And I just kind of, I told the judge kind of things I've done to change my life. And I did a drug program like you and everything else. And she reduced my sentence too. I think instead of I was looking at 72 to 90 months, but I ended up getting 52 months. She dropped my category 4 down to a category 1. I didn't know they were allowed to do that, and then so they gave me 52 months. And but that's because I worked for those 4 years on pretrial trying to change my life, and I screwed up. I came up with a couple dirty tests, and I did 2 different drug programs, one that they sentenced me to, and then I did one on my own. And that one on my own was what convinced the judge that, okay, if this guy is ready to change,
Oh, okay.
It sounds like what you did, right?
Yeah, I went in and I was originally a category 1, a level 24. And then I got a 2-point reduction for accepting responsibility and doing it in a timely manner. And then she gave me the 2-point reduction for completing the drug program and everything before sentencing and doing all of that. So I went down to a level 21, which is 37 to 46 months. And she gave me the low end of that, which is the 37. And she recommended me for the RDAP program also.
Okay. A couple people in the room here. Let me say hello. We got Alan. Hey, Alan, how you doing? Waving hi from Cincinnati. And we got Brittany. Hey, Brittany, how you doing? She says hello. I think this is the Brittany I did a show with once, right? Is Brittany, is that you? I think it is. Anyways, thanks for chiming in, guys. So let's see. So you got like 90 days to self-surrender? Is that what I understand?
Yeah, well, I'm waiting on, they told me it'll probably be 2 to 3 weeks before I get the letter from the marshals, which I haven't received my letter yet. I just got sentenced Thursday. I haven't got my letter yet. And they said it would be 2 to 3 weeks before I get that. And altogether, it'll probably be 60 to 90 days before my self-surrender date. Okay. They said they're about anywhere from 60 to 90 days out right now.
Yeah, so they used to actually give you the date to turn yourself in, and then they rushed to get all the paperwork done before you did it. But I guess now with COVID and everything, now they're just saying or giving you a ballpark figure, and that's fine. At least you know. Somebody else in the room. Let me just say hello, Terrell Hoskins. Hey, Terrell. Good afternoon to you too. All right. Oh, and Brittany said yes, that is the Brittany. Yeah, I did a show with Brittany, guys. If you want to run through my channel, and she has quite a story to tell too. Matter of fact, Brittany, I was just kind of going over some of my videos the other day, and I watched another 10 minutes that me and you talked about, because I got a comment from a girl that's got to do some time, and she watched the show me and you did, Brittany, and she said it really, really helped her. She's getting ready to, I guess, get sentenced and stuff like that, but she's going through it. You know what I mean, guys? When you're on, anybody out there on pretrial getting ready to go to federal prison, I mean, Craig, you remember what it's like before you got sentenced?
Oh, yeah, it was a nightmare.
So when you did get sentenced, for me, it was a weight lifted off my back. How did you feel?
Oh, pretty much the same way. I was definitely, because the guidelines, like you said, there's nothing guaranteeing what they're going to give you or what any of that is. So and I kind of had a hard judge, and anybody in Ohio or the Northern District of Ohio, I had Sarah Leoy, which she's like a corruption judge. She's pretty straight and narrow, right down the path. It's right or wrong. There is no indifference to her. So for her to open up, and she actually gave me some kind words, that she was proud of what I have done and what I accomplished. It definitely was a weight lifted, I mean, that the steps I took forward to it was definitely well worth my time and effort.
Right. Let me just acknowledge a couple more people. TJ is in that house. TJ finally got sentenced, and he had a confrontation on an airline with a flight attendant, and he was worried he was going to get some time, but they gave him a whole bunch of probation and house arrest and stuff. So he's really happy that that's what happened. But he had a record, so they could have used that against him. And Terrell says, I'm waiting to get sentenced, been on pretrial for 3 years on house arrest. I know that feeling. I wasn't on house arrest, so I was able to go to work and go around, but wow, 3 years on house arrest. So I'm waiting to get sentenced. Still, oh man, I know you're going through it. I know you're going through it. That's a long time. Did you have to wear an ankle bracelet when you were on pretrial, Craig?
Yes, I wore an ankle bracelet the whole time. My limits were 7 to 7. I was allowed to go out from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then when I went in for sentencing, my pretrial officer, since I had no dirty urines, I had everything that I was supposed to do. My attorney had asked for them to lift my ankle monitor so that I could go with my grandkids and, swim with them and so forth. And the judge had no problem. She removed it. They were here Friday morning to pick up my box and cut it off of me.
Nice. Nice feeling. Nice feeling. Wow. I got to acknowledge TJ. TJ just gave me a $10 super sticker, guys. So, I never try to, ask for money or help, but anything you guys do to help me out. I only make $15 an hour, guys. And, I have all, I'm just an average working Joe. So $10 really helps me out. That buys me some gas and stuff like that. So thank you very much, TJ. Appreciate that. And Terrell says, yes, sir, I am. Yeah, I'm sure Terrell is watching these. I watched YouTube videos for all those years I was on pretrial, just looking for, answers, advice, somebody to relate to what I'm going through. And that's why I started this channel, Craig, because I know what it's like when you're facing federal prison. And like for me, a lot of my family and friends never even thought I was going to go to prison because I was 4 years on pretrial. And they go, oh, you're just going to get probation. They don't just let you run around for 3 and 4 years and then throw you into prison. Yes, they do, don't they, Craig, in the feds?
Oh.
They sure do.
Yes, they do, without a doubt.
Yeah, we got Khalil. He says, what was the charge? There's your first question, Craig.
Possession with intent to distribute.
So intent, which meant you planned to sell it, but did you? No.
Yeah, that was my initial charge, and then it got brought down to a simple possession charge. Okay. I didn't get caught with no criminal tools, no nothing. They basically just caught me with a bag of meth.
Yeah. Can I ask how big that bag was?
68 grams.
That's not a lot. It's a couple ounces. I mean, that
Right.
could even be personal use, If you're buying in bulk, you go to Costco once a month, so you don't have to,
Well, technically, per weight, it was under 2 ounces, but which my lawyer kind of fought with them about because they weighed the vessel and all. Like it was in 3 baggies taped up, and they had weighed all of it together, the baggies, everything. They didn't kind of separate the product. So that's what got it dropped below the 50-gram mark. So I want to say, I don't have my paperwork in front of me. It come out to, it was right at like 41 grams.
Okay. Yeah, I was telling you earlier, it used to be for every 50 grams, whether it was coke or meth, it was a 5-year mandatory minimum and 28 grams is an ounce, so almost a little less than little more than 2 ounces of dope would get you, 5 years. So you didn't, obviously they're not doing that anymore. They've changed all their laws. I know that First Step Act had a lot to do with it. Guys are getting 25 years for the same amount of crack cocaine that a guy with powder cocaine would get 5 years for. So that First Step Act changed all that. And also now they have the First Step Act credits and people are getting 7 more extra days off their sentence per year and stuff like that. But the First Step Act was all about changing those laws.
Yeah, and they're doing away, especially in the Northern District of Ohio, they're really doing away with the mandatory minimums. They're not really following those guidelines much anymore.
Right.
I don't know why, but there was something brought up. I guess they're going to basically cut them in half. They said they're over sentencing people, and which is a shame because you can get caught with, you can do 5 years for 2 grams of meth, or they get the same 5 years for kidnapping, or a victim.
Sure.
I can't say I'm a victimless crime, but pretty much I'm a victimless crime. But you could actually go hurt somebody or do something of a lot worse nature and actually get less time.
Yeah, I've seen guys get for manslaughter however, you know, it was murder, but it got brought down to manslaughter and get 3 to 5 years, stuff like that, you know.
Right.
And that's taking a life. You know, taking a life or having a bag of dope. Which one do you think has more impact, you know?
Right. And I mean, I was a category 1 in the last 20. I've really not been in no trouble. I have a rental property. The one point that I had on my thing was, as dumb as this sounds, I got a ticket 2 years ago, and it was a misdemeanor ticket for non-removal of nuisance. One of my rental properties, the grass got too high, and I got a ticket for it. And that was the one point on my whole criminal record.
Wow. Okay.
So, and it actually showed up. I was astonished. I didn't, you know, like in the PSR, I sat down with my lawyer and I'm like, well, what is this? And he goes, I don't know, non-removal of nuisance. You tell me what it is. I was like, so we got to researching, and it was from that ticket where I got for not cutting the grass at a rental property.
Wow.
So that's how in depth the federal government goes to look at your criminal record.
Yeah, and they go into your anything but when you were a child, you would think your records are sealed when you're 18. Not the feds open it right up. Yeah, they'll use it against you now. Anything past 15 years, they can't really use for your sentencing, but the prosecution definitely brings that up, and they do their best to go through your whole childhood criminal history and everything else.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I have a what's considered an unaccredited diploma. I graduated high school, but I had broke my leg in a motorcycle accident the middle of my senior year. So I was a half a credit short in a gym class. I had enough academic credits, but I didn't have enough gym credits. So they still gave me a diploma, but it's considered unaccredited or some craziness. And they brought that up in the court. Wow. About making me take a GED, and the judge actually avoided it.
I'm just gonna say they still may have you take your GED when you get to prison, because they get money for that.
Right.
You actually get $25 once you get your GED, but it's almost mandatory to get your GED before they'll release you in a federal prison now.
Right.
Terrell says, yeah, that's what everybody's telling me, but I pray it no mind. LOL. Oh, I think Terrell's talking about the pretrial hell we go through. Yeah, and here's a question for you, Craig. TJ says, is he doing RDAP?
Yes, I got recommended for it as long as I'm approved and all of that. The problem, from what I've been told, is RDAP is really far behind the waiting list because of COVID and so forth. So the chances that I get in it, and you know, it all depends basically on the Bureau of Prisons and how many people are ahead of me when I get to Morgantown.
Yeah, well, you know, I hate to bust your bubble, but the judge almost recommends RDAP to everybody that goes in. It's up to the RDAP coordinator, and that's usually the psychiatrist, doctor who runs RDAP, and it's got to be somewhere in your pre-sentence report or your paperwork or a letter from a therapist, something on paper saying you had a drug problem or an alcohol problem. The judges recommend all kinds of things, and once you get into the BOP, they almost laugh at what the judge recommends. I hate to tell you that, but I think you did say it's in your paperwork somewhere, right? Plus, you did a drug program, so before while you were in pretrial, so that's enough right there. I would bring in, if you have a certificate of completion or something from that drug program, bring that with you, and have a copy mailed to you just in case they don't let you bring that in. That ticket, that's your ticket to get an RDAP right there.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate that. I didn't know I should do that.
Yeah, it's almost a joke because the judges always recommend an RDAP, and they so our RDAP coordinator, her name was Dr. Coulter Rodriguez, and she just used to tell us stories how she just laughs when the guys come in her office. Well, the judge recommended me to RDAP. She goes, well, I'm RDAP. I don't care what the judge recommended. She says, I make the decision. And that's just how it is in the BOP. You're no longer, see, you're like, once you go to prison, you're property of the BOP, and it's a whole nother entity. And all of the different government departments, they all want to be, they don't want to work together. I don't know if you know anything about politics, but these departments don't like to talk to each other unless they
Right.
have to. Unless a judge can order you to be released, but that's not a recommendation. That's an order from a judge, and they have to obey that. But when a judge will recommend that you take classes, and the judge will recommend that you work out, and that judge can recommend you do a lot of things when you're in prison. But it's a joke when you get in the BOP. I just hate to say that. The judges mean well. They just have no idea that they're being laughed at by the RDAP coordinators.
Yeah, she recommend, well, like I said, that her and my pretrial on my PSR, it's recommended that I've had prior issues with drugs, and
there you go. That's what'll get you in.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever watch RDAP Dan, but he really goes over that in detail on how to get into RDAP. Have you watched RDAP Dan?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, he helped me when I went to prison, and he even did some shows about me while I was in prison, and had some people donate some money, and he put like $50 on my books. He put $100 on my books one time. And there was another guy, Walt Pavlo, and he had videos going. He was one of those prison consultants, but I didn't have any money to hire him. So he helped me get through this process on pretrial. And what Walt Pavlo did for me was every month I was in there, he put $100 on my books, and he never missed a month. Great guy. And now he teaches criminology classes at the Southern University of Boston, and he's totally turned his life around. He did a few years for money laundering and things like that. He was a white criminal guy, but white collar criminal charges. But now he really helped me out. So those guys inspired me to do this channel. So, and if I ever get enough money to sponsor somebody, I'll put $100 on somebody's books. But right now I can't do that. I'm just working 9 to 5. But let's see. I got a couple people here in the room. Mac Millie, great content. Thank you, Mac. Yeah, I think we got a question for you, Craig. I heard Morgantown was sweet as far as camps go.
Yeah, that's what I've been told pretty much too. Like I said, I have family that lives in the town of Morgantown, so it's going to make it easy on my wife and my grandkids to be able to come see me, and it'll just take a lot of stress off of them as far as she doesn't have to get a hotel room when she comes down, because like you had spoke before, a lot of people tend to do that, because they're going to want to spend the whole day. So a 3-hour drive from Cleveland, and then you visit for 6 hours, and then a 3-hour drive back makes for a long day with 3 youngsters.
Yeah.
So
hey, here's the guy I was talking about, Jeff G. He says, Craig, I will probably see you there. That's the guy I was telling you about. Yeah, Craig. I mean, Jeff, you don't know for sure you're going to Morgantown, right? But you requested it? Is that what? Yeah, maybe you two can hook up before you go in there, and then you guys do the buddy system inside,
Yeah, I requested it, and she recommended me to go there and so forth. So from what I've been told, that's pretty much a shoo-in.
They'll generally grant you that request. They generally will, unless you have like co-defendants you're not supposed to associate with when you're in there or something like that. But normally they'll grant that request. Yeah, I heard Morgantown back in the day, it was the real Club Fed. I mean, this was the place where – so I used to hear stories about guys sneaking out before count, going to town, having drinks, coming back before count, crazy stuff like that. I'm sure that's all stopped. It may be even more strict now because of those old stories. But from what you were telling me, there's guys that have jobs, and they said there was a guy that leaves on a Monday, comes back on a Thursday, and spends the weekend in camp. You remember that story you were telling me about?
Yeah. I have a buddy of mine. I have a buddy of mine that's a truck driver, and that's what he does. He leaves there, and he hits, I want to say maybe one other institution in West Virginia, and then one in Pennsylvania, and then one in New York, and then works his way back. He kind of like picks up office furniture and delivers it, and he basically drives a semi, sleeps in his truck, and he leaves on like Monday evening, Monday afternoon, and comes back Thursday night into Friday morning, and spends his time in the prison, and then does it again the next week.
And he gets full credit for every day. He gets credit for all those days he's out on the road. He still gets credit for time served for that.
Yep. He said it's right around about a 6-hour drive from one institution to the other. So he'll go to the institution and he doesn't technically get checked in, but they'll bring him out lunch from the institution. You know, they'll bring him out food and load him and unload him. He said occasionally there's a time that he'll just stay in the dock and sleep in his truck, but he's like, I'm not in the prison. He goes, you know, anytime you go to a prison like that, the loading docks are actually on the outside of the fence. He goes, it's not on the inside of the fence kind of deal. So, yeah, he said it's pretty nice down there. You know, there's a lot of outside work. There's a lot of work that goes on outside of the camp, which is what I was more interested in. You know, I don't want to.
We had a lot of that at my camp. Guys would go down to City Hall and do groundskeeping and landscaping. They'd go to parks and rec areas, and they, you know, one guy, all he did was get on a big tractor and mow this big green lawn at a big giant, you know, public park every day. And, you know, they'd leave at 7 in the morning and come back at like 4 o'clock. And he said the city workers would all buy him pizza and stuff like that. And, you know, they liked it, you know. Now they're only getting like 12 cents an hour, but they liked being out there working in the local town and coming back every day. Made them feel like they weren't, you know, doing their time in prison. There's a lot of jobs like that at camps.
Yeah, that's my hope. I mean, I'm a union carpenter by trade. I got 28 years in the trades. So I would much rather go somewhere and work an honest day, you know, a 8-10 hour day. And it puts kind of some of the normalcy back in life. You know, it's not, you know, I got 3 hours of washing windows or mopping a floor or washing dishes, and then I'm just here in this prison. I would much rather go do something of some sort of meaningfulness and some sort of physical labor, because then you can come back, you can actually sleep. It kind of makes it into a normal routine versus kind of get your head out of prison.
Sure, I got you, man. So Jeff is saying, I'm going to request it. I am getting sentenced on 7/11. And he's looking at 41 to 51 months. All right. So what kind of advice can we give to Jeff here before sentencing? I got some of my own, but Craig, you want to give him some of your advice? Because you just got sentenced. It's fresh in your head.
I don't know what judge he has, but the best thing I can say is go in and speak from the heart. You know, like, I didn't ask for leniency. I told her I wasn't there for that I was there to accept responsibility. You know, every action has a reaction, and I'm here for it. And the honesty is honestly what, you know, that's what got me a lower sentence. She was impressed by that, you know, and just basically go in and tell the truth. I did it. I'm here to accept that, because that's a big thing with the feds is they want to hear that you have changed, that you want to change, that you're putting a foot forward. You know, the recidivism is what they want. They don't want to have to worry about you going and doing your 41 months and then them having to go through the whole court battle again in 5 years because you screwed up again.
I agree. The judge is going to punish you, but they're going to look at that punishment like, if this guy hasn't learned his lesson and he's showing up in my court and I can tell this guy's just going to do his time and nothing's going to change, I'm going to give him, you know, as much time as I can. But if you can go in there and tell the judge, like Craig, you said, speak from the heart. And that's the best advice. Speak from the heart. And you're not going there to get an award. This isn't the Grammys or the Emmys and you're up on stage and you say all the good things you've done for the world and why you deserve, you know, probation. Never ask for probation, by the way. But you do want to let the judge know what you've done to change your ways, how you're thinking of change, how you've learned your lesson so far, but you still need to be punished to learn the rest of your lesson. But yeah, speak from the heart, take accountability for everything you did. And, you know, and if you have victims, acknowledge those victims, you know, and that, you know, that you did damage there and you want to repair that damage as well. But Craig, yeah, you had good advice there.
I'm sorry, just because you're on that, you know, like with Jeff, he has a sentencing guideline from what it looked like, 41 to 51 months. Just because that's where your guidelines are, nothing says she has to follow them. You know, the same as me, my guidelines were right around those also, which I believe that's a level like 23, 22. And she dropped my guidelines to a level 21, which is the 37 to 46 months, and gave me the low end of it. because she was happy with the work that I had put forward and so forth. So
yeah, exactly.
You know,
They can go above and below those guidelines. I don't know how far above and below they can go, but like I had category 4. She gave me the sentencing for category 1, which brought it down to 51 to 70 months. So she gave me 52 months. I could have got 70 to 96 months. So yeah. And I think what you say to that judge, that's the final words that you get to say. This is the only time the judge has really ever heard you. She's heard you enter your pleas of not guilty and all that, but she's never had it. This is your only time that the judge is actually going to listen to you and make it count. And don't talk for 20 minutes because the judges, they're busy. Try to get it all within 5 minutes, but the judge will listen to you.
Yes, they will.
So let me catch up on some of these comments. Brittany says, in Dublin, the girls work on Alcatraz and the Presidio. Wow, I didn't know that. Because I know Dublin is in the Bay Area. It's in the East Bay, Contra Costa County, I believe. Or is that Alameda County? I think that's still Alameda County. But it's right near Alcatraz, maybe a half an hour drive. I didn't know the girls actually go all the way into the Presidio, and that's in San Francisco. TJ is saying, no guarantee you will get that camp. It's up to the BOP. They've been sending people all over the place. I just had 4 friends get sent to camps, and all of them got sent everywhere around the U.S. Yeah, TJ, I know that's true, but like in Craig's, they will grant your request. So supposedly they're supposed to keep you within 500 miles of your family. If you don't say anything at all, that's what they're supposed to do. They can send you anywhere. But if there's room at the camp that you request and there's no reason why you shouldn't be there, like co-defendants or if you have gang affiliations, things like that, that might stop you from going there. But in Craig's case, I don't see why they wouldn't grant him that. And Jeff gave me a $5 super sticker. God bless you, Jeff. Thank you very much. And Jeff, you didn't have to do that. You're getting ready to get sentenced, man. God bless you. And Jeff says, thank you, Craig. And let's see here. Let me catch up here. TJ saying, from what I've learned about the feds is if your criminal history isn't that bad, you won't get sentenced too bad. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. What do you think, Craig, on that one?
Oh, definitely. Like I said, my criminal history was a category 1. The only thing on it at all was me not cutting grass at a rental property, which is how intense they go.
Yeah.
And yeah, that definitely was a big plus.
Let me get to this next one. Jeff says prosecutors in their memorandum have requested the low end, so that's good news. I think so. When the prosecutors have no problem with you getting the low end, that's good, right? Righty? What do you think, Craig?
Oh, yes. My prosecutor actually spoke up and said that he had no problem with it because of her lowering give me the 2 points for me doing the prior drug program. The prosecutor said he had no problem with me receiving the lower end of the spectrum.
My prosecutor was not that nice. They were nice enough to step me down some, but they said they would go no lower than 60 months. And the judge said, I don't care. I'm giving him 52. So they didn't like that. I mean, they're arguing over 8 months, but 8 months is 8 months, man.
So if you don't mind me asking Jeff a question, are you in Akron, Toledo, or Cleveland? Like, which courthouse are you in?
There you go, Jeff. Did you hear that? And Brittany says, guidelines are only a suggestion, not set in stone. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you. And TJ says, Jeff G, you should be fine if the prosecutor is asking for the low end. And there, I'm caught up on the comments. So, yeah, thank you guys for all your comments, for participating. So, Jeff, we're waiting on that. Maybe ask Jeff again. I don't know if I was talking over you.
Jeff, which courthouse are you going to, buddy? Are you in Cleveland, Akron, or Toledo? Are you in the Northern District of Ohio?
And we'll find out in a minute. So, Craig, were you worried that they might take you into custody on the day of sentencing? Did that ever come up?
Actually, I was a little worried about it, and then about 3 days before I had sentencing, I contacted my lawyer, and I did all my sentencing over Zoom.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Even the final sentencing day you did over Zoom?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. So then you have to look out your window seeing if the marshals are going to come and get you, right?
Yeah, I kind of made a joke with my lawyer. I said, I'm assuming that because he had already put in the motion for me to get self-surrender and so forth. And I said, so I'm assuming I'm getting self-surrender, right? I said, and he goes, well, unless they send 2 marshals to sit in your dining room with you. And I'm like, will they do that? And he's like, no, Craig, they won't do that.
I've never heard of that one.
Right. It was just kind of a joke on his behalf.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was a little worried about it because it's basically their discretion. But pretty much anybody, from what I was told by my lawyer and, the pretrial officer, was pretty much anybody that is out on pretrial and doing what they're supposed to, they're going to give a self-surrender date to.
Yeah, that's the whole reason you're out on pretrial, because you're not a red flag, you're not a flight risk, that they've trusted you that much. And that's
Right.
pretty much the whole reason. Almost everybody that's out on pretrial goes to a low or a camp. There are a few incidences where a guy might go to a medium, but he's put up a $2 million bail. He's got an ankle bracelet. He's real limited. There are special cases, but your average person out on pretrial is going to go to a low security or a camp, and they will get the self-surrender 95% of the time, I would say. Jeff's got some answers for you here. Let's see here. He says it's actually out of the Southern District of Los Angeles. And he says, I live in PA. That's Pennsylvania, right?
Oh, okay.
And then he says, 2 of us conspiracy to commit wire fraud. So you're going, Jeff, so you're going to court in LA, but you live in Pennsylvania. So do you have to fly there, or are you doing it all on Zoom? How's that working? We'll wait to hear from that. I got a guy that comes on here. I think his name's Frank Javier, and he lives in Tijuana, and he's on pretrial, and they trust him. And he comes to LA or San Diego to go to court, and then he gets to go back home to Tijuana. They trust him that much to live in another country. Have you ever heard of that one?
Actually, when I got released from when I was in a federal holding facility here, when I got arrested, I actually got pulled over, and they said I had a DEA detainer, and they arrested me and took me to Youngstown, Ohio, which is where the federal holding facility is. And when I got released there, they brought us back to the federal courthouse, and they released a Mexican gentleman that was going back to Mexico on an ankle bracelet.
Wow.
And
okay.
He's been going to court and so forth. I haven't heard nothing else from him. I didn't get in contact with him or nothing, but yeah, they put an ankle monitor on him here, gave him all his equipment, and shipped him home.
Wow. Jeff answered, he said he's flying out there. Okay. I guess you're flying out for the sentencing. Have you been doing everything else on Zoom, Jeff? Oh, Jeff, by the way, hey, Jeff, if you want to come on the channel too, just let me know. I'd be glad to have you on. Not everybody wants to put themselves on blast. I understand. Craig, I do appreciate you coming on here, because you're already helping people that are in the chat room right now. And this show will be on instant replay for who knows, for the next 100 years, as long as YouTube lasts. So this show will help people that are facing sentencing and all that stuff. So I do appreciate you being on here.
Yeah, I would have to agree with TJ. It's definitely a weight off your chest. I mean, once you know that it's over, and it's not as bad as people think it is. Luckily with COVID and everything else, they're really not. From what I was told, the feds used to take you, and everybody went through Oklahoma. So once you got sentenced, you got put in a holding facility, and then they took you to Oklahoma and classified you, and then you did diesel therapy and went wherever. Well, they're really trying, because of COVID, they're really trying to step that down. They're plus from what I read, Trump come in and kind of put a kibosh to all that, talking about how much wasted fuel and wasted time and wasted effort, and so forth that it was.
Right. No, I mean, a lot of people don't like Trump, but he's done some good things. You can't knock that. Some of the things he's done, especially in the federal justice system, he's really tried. On the other hand, I don't know what Biden's I don't know if he's good or bad for people like me and you. What do you think?
I try not to be too political.
Yeah,
You know,
I try not to either, but you'll see in the camps there's TV rooms, and you have your Fox News TV room, and then you have your CNN TV room.
Gotcha.
You'll see. And you're going to be really surprised who's in that Fox TV room. It's not who you think.
Yeah.
We had a big group called Gays for Trumps. So there are gay people in the camps. Now, these are not pedophiles. These are not child molesters. There's two separate kind of things. And
Right.
A lot of gay guys I know, the last thing they hate pedophiles just as much as I do. That's just their choice to be with a man with blah, blah, blah. I mean, you know, that's their choice. But we had a big group called Gays for Trump, and they took over that Fox News TV room. It was I never knew about that, but you know, it's you get all walks of life in the camp. You get a lot of your white collar guys, but then half of the people there are for drugs, and usually for transportation of drugs. You know, some kind of a smuggling. You know, from low end to high end. Half of the people in the camp there are for drugs. And then you got another percentage of people who worked their way down from penitentiaries to mediums to lows. And now they're at their last 5 or 10 years. They're on their best behavior, but they can't stand that they're used to this code of this prison code, you know, and it doesn't fly in a camp, and they don't really like it. And you'll see those guys, and they're usually the angry ones, but they don't really voice themselves too much because they want to go home. You know,
Right.
Yeah, Jeff says, of course I will for you. Okay, Jeff. I know I got your number, or call me and we'll set it up. You're getting sentenced pretty soon. So, I mean, if you want to do it tomorrow or something, just get a hold of me, Jeff. We'll do this. Brittany saying, Trump. All right, Brittany. So what were you saying, Craig? I know sometimes I have a tendency to overtalk. I apologize.
Oh, no, that's all right. I was just saying that, you know, I can't say excited to go. I'm excited to get it over with, to be honest with you. It has been such a, you know, overwhelming feeling of how much, how long, where am I going, what's going on, you know, so on and so forth. So to finally be sentenced, to finally have it over with, per se, you know, now the waiting I'm waiting on now isn't nearly as hard as the waiting that it has been up to this point, you know, and I just want to go and get it over with, do my time.
How many times have you done the math now that you have your sentencing day? You trying to calculate your 15% good time and first step back credits and RDAP time, and how many times have you done the math?
2 notebooks worth.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
kind of every scenario you're trying to figure out, right?
Right. Well, the problem is that there's a rule out there. They're not giving you first step backs for RDAP program in some places, but in some places they are. So if I do the RDAP, I get you get 18 months off. You get a year off of your sentence and an extra 6 months in a halfway house. So, but if I do the RDAP program, I'm not eligible for the first step credits. You know,
see, that has a lot to do with your case manager. Now I had a case manager. His name was McAvoy, and I will put the guy on blast. There was 3 case managers. One was known for giving people up to a year halfway house time, even if they didn't take RDAP. But she was new and she had energy and she kind of cared. There was one that was in the middle. Now, McAvoy, he would say, you're already getting 6 months from RDAP, so don't even ask me for more than 6 months. That's more than you deserve, and that's all I'm going to give you, period. First step back or not. A lot of these case managers, they don't want to do the work. So every time that you take more classes and programs, they have to recalculate all your good time, your first step back, earned credits and all that. Then they got to call the halfway house and set a different date for you to go in because now you've earned more time. And they don't want to like every month have to do that or every 3 months or however often that they're going to actually they have to redo all your paperwork and then reset up the date with the halfway house for you to go in. Halfway house has to have openings and it's a lot of work. And a lot of these guys don't want to do the work and they're going to have this attitude. Yeah, you're taking RDAP, man. You're already getting a year off plus 6 months. Don't ask me for more. And a lot of case managers are like that. A lot of these case managers been there 10 or 20 years. All they're worried about is their benefits and their retirement. And they want to just do their time and go home. And they really don't care about what you got coming.
Yeah, that's a shame, because they don't realize, well, a lot of them have that anticipated of, we get to go home. They don't. Eventually we're going to get to go home and move on to our family and they have to spend the next 20 years there and, deal with it every day. Granted, we're inmates and they work there, but eventually we don't have to deal with them anymore. And I'm sure there's some kind of animosity about that. I noticed that when I was in CYC, down there before I got issued out on bond, I did 17 days, I think it was, waiting for a bond hearing and all of that because it was right around Thanksgiving and it was just a pain in the ass. And I actually got released the day I got indicted.
Wow. One thing I've noticed about cops, correction officers, court workers, the whole industry, 'cause I think the number one industry in the country, I believe, is pharmaceutical. The second is corrections, and I think the third is medical. But anybody in the corrections department, whenever I've kind of listened in on their conversations, it's all about their benefits, how much money they're making, the house that they just bought, sending their kids to college, and how much more time until they retire. And it's like, how good their job is and how good their department is, and that's all they really kind of seem to care about. That's what I've kind of heard. And then really, whatever else is going on in front of them, it's second play.
That's hopefully, and I've researched a lot of that. There, like at Morgantown, that was part of the reason why I wanted to go down there. It seems to be that the places that you get that are in a smaller little town, the employees are a little bit better for the inmates versus you get into a big metropolis.
I would agree with that. I was in Florence, Colorado, real small little town, and I would agree. The staff was great, like the teachers and the chaplains and the nurses and the doctors and just the regular staff. They treated us just like normal people you'd work with. And then half of the correctional officers treated us with plenty of respect and everything else. Then you get those super cops that just want to make whatever kind of I don't know what kind of quotas they got to bring in or whatever. These are the guys that'll do random searches and just want to find everything wrong. You're going to have those no matter where you go. But little towns, I think, I agree with that.
Yeah, those are the cops that get bullied when they get home.
Yeah,
their wife slapped them around. Right. Yeah.
Let me catch up on some of these comments. Mac Millie, are they still letting people go early because of COVID? They are, but it's starting to end. It's coming to an end, but it's still going on. What do you think, Craig?
Yeah, they still are. I mean, my lawyer had even brought that up that they're doing that second chance act. So if somebody is, as long as COVID's out there, I'm sure they're still going to do it. And they're basically anybody with 25% of their time in and less than 18 months remaining is eligible for consideration, and anybody that has done half of their time, 50% or more of their time, but your low score of revisitism, however the hell that word is pronounced,
recidivism.
Recidivism. As long as as long as their pattern score is low enough on the lower end of that spectrum, then those are the ones that they're applying that for and letting come home.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds about right to me from what I remember. So if you guys don't know, I haven't done a video in a couple weeks. I had COVID for the last couple weeks, and there was a couple of nights, man, I thought I was gonna die. All my whole chest felt like every rib cage was broken, and every time I coughed or sneezed, oh, the pain. And I had to sleep in a chair for 2 nights because I just couldn't even lay on my side. And then the next week, I thought I'd be better, and then my throat got all jammed up, and I was coughing. I was gagging on my own phlegm. I was trying to cough it up and then breathe. And like you ever see somebody in a restaurant and they need the Heimlich maneuver, and you're trying to get it out of them? Well, I was like that. And then I finally got it out. 10 minutes later, here it goes again. And this went on for 2 days. And I should have called the ambulance. I really should have, but I'm stubborn. Yeah, but I got through it. I finally came tested clean the other day. So now I'm back doing videos. And if you haven't seen me out here in a couple weeks, that's why, guys. And I was starting to think this whole COVID thing was just fake news. But until I got it, it's real. Let me tell you, it's real. Let me get on some more questions here. Zephiel says, feds charge you for meth if you're dealing meth, where they would probably do state prison for meth users. I'll leave that one for you, Craig.
Well, mine was, I actually beat the case in a state case for an illegal search and seizure. They no-billed me because they need less evidence in the feds than they do in the states. So when I got pulled over, they technically didn't have a reason to search my car. So they no-billed it through the state, and then 18 months later, I got picked up by the feds.
Okay. I've heard a lot of people getting picked up by the state, and then the feds pick it up. So I've heard of that happening a lot. Maybe because the state doesn't have enough evidence. But the feds say, "Oh, never fear, we're here, we'll take over," right?
Yeah, I had a very good state attorney, and he basically, when I went in for my original arraignment through the state, he got it thrown out, which we assumed they threw it out, but they just no-billed it, which in turn is there wasn't enough evidence to convict. Because they pulled me over. I had a legal license, legal insurance, in a legal car. I mean, they pulled me over for nothing, basically, just because he said I made a left on yellow. I didn't, I continued to shoot through a caution light. So when he pulled me over, I wasn't high. There was nothing in the front seat of the car, no indications, nothing, but he wanted to search the car anyways.
Wow.
So, and I never gave them permission to search the car. But this, like I said, they basically let it out of the states and the feds picked it up.
I'll tell you what they're really cracking down on now is fentanyl. So there's a lady, she's got a YouTube channel called Fed Phoenix, but she had to turn herself in. Her name's Audrey Thompson, and she's over in she's in the same place Martha Stewart was at. What was that called?
Gilmore?
Alderson.
Oh,
and,
yes.
Yeah, so she had like 8 months worth of First Step Back credits coming towards her. They took it all away because they looked at her record, and she has fentanyl charges. They took all that away. And so she sent me an email saying, anybody with fentanyl charges now, you're not eligible for First Step Back credits. That sucks. That really sucks. That's not good news. TJ says, how did it become a Fed charge? There's another question for you, Craig.
Well, they got me with possession with intent to distribute, but because they never had no sales, and like I said, I didn't get caught with a scale, I didn't get caught with baggies, I didn't get caught with nothing. So I believe when they originally dropped the charges, that's when they started watching me, and they just couldn't make nothing else stick other than that. And then when they arrested me, like I said, they arrested me on the detainer. They took me down, and yeah, here we are now. But my lawyer ended up getting it to basically a possession charge.
Well, they only need one charge, and it really doesn't matter what the charge is when it comes to the feds.
Right.
I think the lightest charge they have out there is a DUI. That's driving on federal property, and you might get 6 months probation, but pretty much any other charge I know you can get years in prison for. Let's see what Zephiel says. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, TJ. When does it become federal versus state? Yeah, I guess like what we're saying, if the state if the state doesn't have enough evidence, the feds can pick it up,
Well, and that's what was in my case, basically. my lawyer had already proven that we could have beat it. Had they brought me up on state charges and continued them, then I would have been able to beat it because it was an illegal search and seizure. I didn't give them permission. I didn't tell them they could search the car. There was no dog that hit on nothing. He just basically pulled me out of the car, walked around, and popped the trunk on the car.
Yeah, so that's illegal search and seizure, right? Or without probable cause. Yeah.
Right.
And with the feds, all they need is a suspicion. They don't even need evidence. And then they have this whole grand jury thing that we're not invited to. Whatever happened to a jury of your peers? This grand jury, you never get to meet them. You don't get to go to the hearing. All of a sudden, you get a call or a knock on the door or something that you've been indicted. Well, thanks a lot for inviting me. Well,
the Northern District of Ohio, where I'm at, I'm in Cleveland, and they're literally, if you look it up online, they're turning about every third dope case that comes across the board is getting turned federal up here in the last couple of years.
Wow, that's a lot. Yeah. Feds are busy. Well, right now their prisons are kind of half empty and 3/4 full and stuff because of COVID. I guess now they need to fill them up, right? Get that money, right?
Yeah, well, that was part of the reason why I requested Morgantown. That Morgantown's got a 1,300 per prisoner capacity, and right now, I think I checked yesterday, they're at 446 inmates.
Ooh.
So
everybody's going to be working there.
For them to have a 1,300 inmate capacity and only have 446, I doubt they're going to fill up before it comes my time to be, sent there.
True.
Which was a good thing also. So where a lot of the prisons right around me, besides that, McKean is a little bit, they're right on, McKean's in Pennsylvania. It's right on the cusp of it. Elkton is a low facility, and it's been overpopulated since it's been built. And then Milan, Michigan is right around the same. It's within 100, it has a 1,400 inmate capacity, and they're at like 1,300 inmates. So I really didn't want to go, I wanted to ask for a recommendation to somewhere that wasn't quite as full. And, the more people, the more problems, the more issues, the more.
That's actually a big camp. Mine had a little less than 500. We were normally around 350, 400, but the more inmates they have, the more money they have for programs and classes and equipment, and gym equipment and music equipment and all the things that go with it, the size of the library, everything's going to make a difference. So 1,300, that should be fully equipped with everything, lots of library books and classes and programs. And, I was a musician, so we had a music room. We had about 20 guitars. You can't have your own instrument in a camp, but you can go in and take a guitar off the shelf anytime you want, play it wherever you want. You just bring it back. We had a piano, some saxophones, drum machines, and then we had a couple music rooms with electric guitars and stuff like that. And you could go in there, and I had a little rock band going at the end there. And so we had our little time slots, and we used to rock out. And there was 4 of us. And at the time, I lived in San Francisco. The other 3 guys were from Albuquerque. Now I've moved to Albuquerque, and I'm in contact with all those guys. And next month, we're all going to get together, and we're going to have a jam session over my friend Max's house. And he says he's got all the equipment for us. So we're going to get the band back together, man.
Awesome.
You do make friends in prison, and it may not be your goal. The last thing I wanted to do was make a friend in prison. That's not – I just want to get my time over with, and but you're going to make friends. You're sitting there every day with these people around you, and I mean, you can sit there and clam up and not talk to anybody and do your whole time like that. And some people do, they're just totally private, and they'll say yes sir, no sir, and that's about all you'll ever get out of them. But for the most part, you're going to make some friends whether you want to or not.
Well,
You get pretty close there. It's like joining the army. You know what I mean? It's like serving your country, and you're going to get close to people.
Now, I don't know how many other people that's on the call that has already been sentenced or anything, but they made me do a BOP orientation program over the phone already.
Okay.
There was like 12 or 13 people on the call with us. And when we talked to that woman, she basically said that she was from Elkton, FCI Elkton, which is about an hour and 45 minutes away from me right here, but it's a low security institution. And she said that Elkton, basically, they came in and they've done away with all the top bunks. So they've taken because of COVID, they're trying to get under, not be so over capacity and so forth. So they're kind of trying to make all the institutions give everybody a little bit more space.
Mine hardly had any top bunks. We had 16 little cubicles on each range. The first 2 would have bunk beds, but then the other 14 were just single beds. They were next to each other, 2-man cubicles. But yeah, there's not a lot of top bunks in, well, my experience in camps, unless you're in a dormitory. Some camps have a big open dorm, but I think that's more the low securities. Camps tend to be more 2-man cubicles.
Yeah, I read through the PREA report for Morgantown to try and get the gist of it, and that's what they said. They are basically cubicles, and then they have rooms. You can get your own room or whatever. I don't know how many people are in there.
That's that old Club Fed Morgantown I've heard about. Yeah. That's where your East Coast, that's where your mobster types would have their own kind of rooms,
Right.
Yeah. So you did read the PREA report. Let me tell you guys out there what the PREA report is if you don't know. If you go to the BOP website, that's the Bureau of Prisons.gov, and you look under facilities, and let's say you're going to go to Morgantown, or you're going to go to Alderson, or you're going to go to Coleman Low, or whatever it is. Every little institution has a thing called a PREA report, and I think that's the prison rape something. It's basically a report they do. It's basically an audit on the whole camp or the whole facility, even though it's supposed to be on the prison rape thing. But they do a full audit. Sometimes it's 100 pages long, and it'll give you a lot of information on that facility. And you actually took the time to read that, huh, Craig?
Yes, sir.
That's good. That's good news to get that. So that's called the PREA report, guys. It's usually the last thing you can click when you go to the institution that you're looking up. It's usually at the bottom. It's called a PREA report, PREA. So let me catch up on some comments here. Rocky Mountain Oyster Sauce. He says, I love what you guys are doing. Keep it up. Thank you, Rocky Mountain Oyster Sauce. And we got Gangish Oyster Sauce. It's good to see a positive outlook. Thank you. Thank you. And then he says, Prison Rape Elimination Act. Thank you. I only knew what the first two letters stood for. And then he's got it here, PREA. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Gangish.
Yeah, there's a lot of information in that. A lot. It tells you basically how the institution's set up, how many, some people might be worried, am I going to have to shower with other people? Am I going to, it tells you that there's, separate shower stalls, and you don't have to get dressed in front of people. You don't have to, it tells you a lot.
Yeah, speaking of showers and bathrooms and all that, guys, I've done a couple videos on that, and I've showed you pictures. But if you're going to a low security or a camp, if you're in the higher ones, I think you have your own bathroom built into your own cell. But no, everything's private there. The toilets, the door closes. It's just like a public bathroom. The showers kind of have a half door. You can see maybe your head above, and you might see your feet, but the door closes. Everything's individual, and they're very, very clean. So on my camp, we had 200 people in each building. Each building had 8 bathrooms. Use any bathroom you want. So if you're waiting for the toilet, you can just go across the hall and use the other one. But when you go in the toilet, there's a spray bottle hanging, and the rule is you grab that spray bottle and you spray the seat, you wipe it down, you bring your own toilet paper. They give you 2 rolls a week. Usually there's a lot more toilet paper floating around. You'll never run out of toilet paper. But you spray that seat, you wipe it off, and then when you're done, you spray the seat again and you wipe it off for the next guy. And you're not allowed to pee in the toilet. You use the urinals only. I did a video on this because when I first got there, there was 2 guys in the urinal, and I didn't want to wait in the bathrooms. The toilet stalls were open, so I went into the toilet stall. and I pissed. And when I came out, I got hell. This guy came right up to me. He said, "Did you just pee in the toilet?" I go, "Yeah, but I wiped it off with the spray." And he goes, "I don't give a fuck what you did. You don't ever, 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 ever pee in that toilet, period. We got 8 other bathrooms in this building. If you can't wait for us, you go use one of those." And he told me off, but he had every right to. Now, that guy ended up being a pretty good friend of mine. He ended up being my neighbor, and we got along really well after that. But I needed to hear that. I didn't know. So just so you guys know, do not pee in the toilets, only in the urinals. That's stuff you'll learn in prison. And
Sean, I'm gonna have to get off here, buddy. My grandchildren are getting ready to walk in.
Man. I appreciate you, Craig. I'm sorry.
I appreciate everything, buddy. Thank you.
Sometimes I get off to talking off topic, but I appreciate all you guys in the chat room. Craig, give me a call when you get that paper in the mail, and we'll go over a checklist of things before you go in that you can bring with you and all that. Okay?
All right. I certainly will. Thank you.
All right. God bless you for coming on the show, man, and just keep up that great attitude you got, okay?
All right, buddy. Thanks. And everybody have a good day.
All right.
Happy
God bless
4th.
you guys.
Thank you.